Okay. Decision making time, eh? Because the reports from the news, the last time I had heard anything about this hurricane was that it was a tropical storm. So when I got news that it was another category 5, the part of me that wanted to cry was numb and exhausted from being disappointed about my plans changing from the last hurricane. And I was just like, I can't do this again. I don't have the strength. Like the last hurricane, Hurricane Irma, I prepared. Me and my friends and the whole neighborhood prepared. We got food. We got water. We boarded houses. We were anxious. We were like, but this time it was more like a decision to prepare because I was just kind of like, fuck it. It took a lot of energy to get through the first one and decide to leave and to say goodbye and to get an Airbnb and, then get another Airbnb. But I mustered up a good attitude again. And I helped my Airbnb host move all his furniture and plants inside as we decided what we were going to do. As far as, are we going to stay in the house? Or are we going to evacuate? And I don't know Spanish all that well, so he was listening to the news and he was telling me that the news was saying that if we stay in the area we're in, we're going to die. And he was like, Puerto Ricans can be so extreme sometimes. And I was like, he wanted to stay in his home. Partially for me, because he didn't want to leave me alone. And partially because he didn't necessarily believe that this storm was going to be as bad as they're saying. But I didn't want to take any chances. And I also wanted to do the right thing. So I gave myself a tarot reading. And it basically told me to be sacrificial. So I decided to tell him to take me to a shelter. I did not want to go to a shelter. Like at the last minute, I was like, take me with you to your mom's house. Why can't I go with you? And he was like, it's already crowded with all my family. And I was like, I know that's an absurd request, but I had to ask. Because a shelter, and St. Thomas, I had more comfort. I had been in St. Thomas for a while and built relationships with people, and people felt love for me, and I felt love for them. And in Puerto Rico, I did not have that, and I could feel the difference, and that didn't feel good. That part did not feel good. And so we went out for the last night before the hurricane. He took me to Babel's, which is an authentic Puerto Rican style restaurant that it's a cafe I had passed, and I'm cheapo. I am cheap. I hold my penty. When I was gone to St. Thomas and Puerto Rico, I barely spent any money. Not really until I got to Puerto Rico that I spent any money of my own money. In St. Thomas, I got a stipend for groceries because of the workaway program I was doing. So I didn't really have a need to spend all that much money. I buy groceries and I will cook. And when I was in St. Thomas, when I first got there, I wanted to try the foods, and when I got that out of my system, I stopped doing that, and I went to the grocery store and I made my food. And then I learned that my body felt better in the heat when I did not hardly eat that much during the day, so I was just snacking on nuts and coconut water and whatever during the day, and I would save my meals for the evening anyway. So yeah, he took me out, and that was my first time eating out in Puerto Rico. Okay, second. The first time we just went to a pizzeria. Me and my first Airbnb host, they took me to, and I got a arugula salad, and it was muy malo. Anyway, so yeah, I got I forgot what it was called, but it was plantains stuffed with beef, but it was like a plantain shepherd's pie type deal, and some bean sopas and rice, and it was really good, and we had a great time. And I found out that the guy was like a earth angel. He was part of the Galactic Federation, and I gave him his message I was supposed to give him, interestingly enough. And so the next day is when I was talking to Hurricane Maria. And during the night, while we were moving all the furniture and stuff, I was like, am I supposed to channel this storm? Like, am I supposed to let this storm come through me? Is it possible to do that? Like, I really want to communicate with this storm. So I did a tarot reading with the storm. And I also just use the same intuition I use when I read people and talk to the storm. And it was Mother Earth that came through, and she just was saying that she was infuriated. Just infuriated. I don't remember the exact message, but I just asked her to spare us, the whole island, if she could. And she couldn't. So, there you have that. There you have that. So I went to the shelter, and during the next day, and it was like a party. It was like karaoke. It was board games, and I got a cot. I signed in. Oh, I didn't have a blanket or a pillow, so I walked across the streets in the mall and went to the JCPenney or the Sears, whatever it was that was open, and bought myself a pillow and a flannel blanket, and I had bought my hurricane food with me, a big box can of crackers and beans and some snacks, and and it's just, I sang Whitney Houston, I'm gonna dance with somebody, and I sang Selena's I Will Fall in Love with You. Then I was like the singing queen. They were like, ella cantante, ella que cantante. That's the singer. She's the singer. We had fun. Like, I had fun that night. I also met this guy who became like my hurricane boyfriend. I call him my hurricane boyfriend. And he was from Cali. His birthday was December 4th. And I always end up in relationship with 4 people. With people whose birthday are on the 4th. And this for karmic reasons. And they test me. He was a test. As were all my relationships and bonds that I made with damn near everybody. And I'm going to end it here. This is a long story. But yeah, stay tuned for part 5. I thought I was going to end at 4, but 5.